Can't beat that.
That's the mistake I made.
You need more.
Hello and welcome back to Politically Incorrect. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, tonight we have an august body of distinguished Chelmsford citizens on the show to talk mainly about Chelmsford issues, but some state and national issues as well. So with me tonight we have Charlie Wojtas. How are you, Charlie?
Oh, I'm great, Tom. And I heard this is my what
21st.
number on the show?
21st.
21st.
So
I'm
now
really
you're an
happy.
adult on the show.
Yeah, they can
But you don't
vote.
want to act like one.
Can I
do
vote
hope?
you off? I'm kidding.
So Charlie, as everyone knows, Charlie has been a long-time town meeting representative, but just moved to Precinct 9, which is my precinct. Which
Well, it's
is
the
great.
best one.
You joined the best one finally, because Charlie moved to a beautiful house on Boston Road. And Charlie also is a member of the Agricultural Commission here in
Yep,
Chelmsford.
correct.
A longtime member of the Planning Board. He has been. He's not on the Planning Board
3
now.
terms.
Yeah, 3 terms in the Planning Board. And Charlie is also on, what other committees are you on?
Zoning Board of Appeals.
That's the zoning
And you know
board,
what?
yeah.
That's my favorite board to date, the Zoning Board of Appeals, because
Yeah.
they take over where the selectmen leave off and where the Planning Board leaves off.
Yes.
The Zoning Board takes over, and they
Yeah.
also have all the say on a 40B, which is something to.
Oh,
like-
yeah, it's a very important board, Charlie. How did you get on that board anyway? Was it
How did I get
my
on?
friend Janet Askenberg got you on, or
No. You know who got me on?
who?
I just called up Trish Doris and I said, put my name down. And she says, no problem. And that's how I got on.
That's really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, you do know a lot about real estate, too, so you're the perfect person to be on the board,
I
I
know a little
think.
bit about it.
So that's wonderful, Charlie, yeah.
Just because you
Anything
build
else?
homes, it doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah. Well, you do, though, don't you, Charlie?
No, I'm still learning.
Charlie knows.
I'm just trying to see how humble
enough
he-
of
To get in
everything to be
trouble.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So anything else you want to say
Nope,
before
I'm
I
good, I'm good.
go? Well, thanks for being here again,
You're
Charlie.
welcome.
Next time will be 22. Won't be
right.
long. I'll be inviting you again.
Thanks.
And we have my good friend Laurie Myers with us tonight. How are you, Laurie?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks for being here for the 5th time on the show.
Wow.
So we're getting there, you know. And we have Rena on the show for the
Rena.
2nd time.
Wanna-
Rena, could you get up?
Good girl.
And I don't know if we could show Rena on the camera here. Laurie could explain to her, but Rena, I guess you would call her a service dog?
She's
Oh, you
actually
could-
she's service trained. She's a facility dog.
A facility
and we
dog,
use
yeah.
her within our organization. I run a victim advocacy organization, and we use her to offer assistance and support to victims of violent crime as they go through the criminal justice process.
Isn't that what? So, and you've had her doing this for over a year now. I think.
What
more
she
than that,
she
yeah.
joined us in November of 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I
So
went
it's
down for
almost
a
2 years
2-week
already.
training. Yeah, it's been
That's
a long time.
fantastic,
Yeah,
and
but
she's doing well.
She's a
doing
cutie.
very well. In
And she's
April, right
beautiful,
after
yeah.
the marathon bombings, we went to Boston Medical Center,
You
and
did?
yeah, and she visited with about 14 of the survivors.
Really? Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Absolutely
Amazing.
incredible
And what happens
experience.
when she visits them? They
Just,
pat her and
you
she
know,
just,
it was, you know, she went in, greeted them, and, you know, she's adorable. So
Yes,
people
yeah.
very happy to see her. So we went back for for at least the entire month of May as well. So,
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
yep. So
So,
it's been a
and
good experience.
your organization is called Community Voices,
That's
right,
right,
Laurie?
yeah.
And you're the president or chairperson of that?
I'm the founder of the
Founder?
organization. We founded
Yeah,
in
good.
2004.
Yeah,
We're a
2004.
child protection and victim advocacy
Wow, so it's
organization.
9 years already.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
And how's that organization going?
Going well. You know,
Wonderful.
it's offering support to victims in just child safety, child protection presentations throughout the state. So it's been a
Wonderful.
good experience. Met some really amazing people.
Wonderful,
so it's been
geez,
good.
that's a wonderful thing that you're doing. Later on in the show, we'll talk about the Sex Offender Registry, which you worked hard on getting that improved,
Yeah.
and other bullying type issues. We'll talk about that later on in the show.
Great.
Thanks. Laurie. Anything else you want to mention on the introduction?
No, just thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for being here, Laurie. And we have my friend George Simonian with us tonight. How are you, George?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good,
Everything's
good.
fine. Everything's good. Everything is good.
Speaking of a distinguished panelist, you're the epitome of a distinguished
Yes,
panelist, George.
yes.
I mean, how many people do I have on the show that we have a stadium field named after them? Isn't that wonderful?
Excellent point.
That's right.
Yeah.
George, the Simonian Stadium, is it called? Yeah, it's wonderful.
Alumni Stadium, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
George Simonian.
Because I named it
George-
Alumni Stadium when we built it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I wanted to keep that name.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the George, I guess
George-
officially
George
George
Simonian
Simonian Alumni Stadium.
Which is wonderful, yeah. So it
It's an
must
honor.
feel great every
It's an
time you, do you go to a lot of the games, George,
Oh,
by the way?
All the games.
All again.
Well, and then everybody says, oh, there's George Simonian
No.
and all that. No?
Yes,
I
they do.
would.
Yes, they do.
If
Yeah, they do.
possible.
They go.
Oh, that just happens when I go, right? Oh, there's Tom Christiano.
There you
I'm
go.
only kidding, folks. Only kidding. If people had marshmallows, maybe they'd throw them at me, but anyway. But no, it's great to have George on the
Thank
show.
you,
I love
thank you.
seeing George at a lot of our town events, like the 4th of July. You have
Yeah.
a booth there every
Yeah,
year for the
yeah.
Chelmsford
The
Alumni
Alumni
Association,
Association, right, yeah.
which you're very active in.
Yes.
And also, you're the principal emeritus of Chelmsford High School, right, George? How many years were you the principal, George?
16, 17, 16, I don't know, something like that. 16
16?
and a half, 7, I don't know what it is. I don't count.
And
okay?
did you
There are some things I do count.
Yeah.
Some things
Not-
I do count.
yeah.
Like an example, I've been to 57 straight Chelmsford High School graduations.
You're kidding. That is fantastic,
57.
George.
Have they given you a diploma yet?
Oh, is that supposed to happen? yeah, that was a yours.
And George, every year, speaking of the high school and the alumni, you have the alumni awards you give out every year.
Yeah, the
and you have a
scholarship awards
wonderful
night.
s-
Yeah.
That's
And a
fantastic.
Hall of Fame night. Yeah.
It's about, what, 8 or 9 you pick out every year?
What?
Alumni.
The Hall of Fame is
awards.
9.
Yep.
9 year.
So
9
always
year.
close, yeah. Wonderful, that's a good thing. Anything else you want to say at the introduction, George?
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you, my pleasure, George. Your 3rd time on the show, so
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be many, many more.
Well, who knows? But anyway, I hope so too.
Oh, yes, it'll be great, George. It's always fun having you on the show.
Yeah, yeah. Good,
Thanks.
good. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And we have my good friend Nick DeSilvio with us for the 8th time today, Nick.
Thank you, Tom.
So that's a Yogi Berra number.
That's
you know,
right,
or
it is.
whatever.
That's
So-
right. Great number.
Yeah, yeah. What, were you a Red Sox fan growing up, or Yankees? or
Yankee
who?
fan.
Oh, so you
Grew
know
up-
it was
I
his
grew up
number.
in I grew up in New York City, so I grew up in
see.
Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
See, I grew up in Connecticut. That's why we
Yeah.
were kind of Yankee fans in Waterbury, Connecticut. But
Yep.
so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
wonderful, Nick. So you're, as everyone knows, you're a member of the school committee, serving in your 2nd term, I
Second
believe,
term,
right?
correct. Yep.
And are you still town meeting representative,
Still
precinct
town meeting,
5?
precinct 5. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep. Very busy.
Yeah, and oh, you're also one of the principals of your company,
Yep.
Proteum Technologies
Yep.
or something.
Yep. Podium Technologies. Yeah.
Geez, when's my memory going to go? I'm
I
remembering
don't know.
all
Yeah,
this
this is very
stuff.
good. This is excellent. I'm pretty impressed. I can barely remember. I was confused.
You would
there for
never
a second.
know I'm 45 years old, right? Because my memory's so good. Could everybody tell I was kidding with that?
No, not
Okay. Anything else you want to mention in the
No,
introduction,
no.
Nick? Great.
Just excited to be
And we'll
here.
talk
Thank
about
you.
synthetic fields
Sure,
later on the
yeah,
show, which you were
that'd be great.
principal of,
Yep.
helping us raise the funds for that. But before I begin the show, I just want to quickly mention about this little beard here. 2 shows ago, you might have heard me mention I was growing a beard to support the Red Sox. So you can see there's a little beard there, right? But I think this might be the last show that I have the beard.
You got to leave it on until they win the
Yeah,
World
till they
Series.
win.
Yeah.
Oh, they
Yeah.
made the playoffs. I accomplished my goal was for the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, you
Yeah.
got to keep moving.
Keep it
Put
on for them.
on.
Yeah, but all my
Another couple of
girlfriends
weeks.
don't like it. They say it's itchy.
Yeah, but Tom, if you take it off, it's going to be your fault if they lose.
Yes.
So remember that.
Yeah, but what would I
No
rather
pressure
lose?
there.
The Red Sox lose the World Series or lose all my lady friends? You know, that's a tough. Well,
There's
No, no.
plenty of ladies
That's
out
it.
there,
That's
but World Series only come
That's
once
an
a
easy
year.
one.
Sports.
That-
I don't know if you weighed all of that and you asked my kids, the World Series is more important
Yeah,
than any
yeah.
girls.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah.
no, but the Red Sox
Get your
did
priorities
great
right
this
here.
year, as you know.
Yeah,
I
they
think
did
the record was
fantastic.
something like
Yeah.
95, 96.
97.
90 to 97 wins, which was fantastic. And they almost hit a 600 percentage. They had .599.
Yep.
So it was fantastic. They have like the best record, tied for the best record in all of baseball.
Right. Yeah.
And coming from last place to first place this year
Yeah.
is attributable to a lot of factors, I think. One is the great new manager they have, who's doing, was it John Farrell or whatever, doing a great
Manager
job.
of the year.
Manager.
He will be.
I hope so.
I'm quite sure.
Secondly, I think this new president we have who helps pick out the players, what's his name?
Sherrington?
Yeah. Has done an excellent
Oh,
job with these players he picked up. Have been fantastic, right? A lot of the new players. You watch the games too, right?
attitude.
sometimes?
All the time.
Yeah, so
Attitude.
anyway, it
It's
worked
how,
out well.
it's how the players gel together.
Attitude.
That's the key. And
Yeah.
if they believe in themselves as a team, then they're going to go far. Very,
Yeah, but
very
they
far.
had some good players though, which they picked up.
Yep.
You know, they got a lot of new players this year that I saw that were
in the-
fantastic.
and even in last year, they had good players.
Right.
It was just that they didn't gel well together.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and that's a key. That's very, very
Yes.
important.
Yeah. Bobby Valentine, the manager last year who did such a lousy, kind of not a good job, he's now the athletic director at my alma mater, Sacred Heart University.
Oh, really?
In Fairfield, Connecticut, yeah. He was just on TV the other day on Bloomberg Network because he's writing these documentaries about college players and how maybe they should be paid if the schools are making billions of dollars, why aren't they being paid and that kind of thing. So, which I think
I don't know about that.
yeah, I think it's a good idea because they're being exploited, I think. You know, a lot of them aren't getting the proper education. They're just being used for their football or basketball prowess. Some aren't even graduating. The schools are making billions, some of these schools, or many hundreds of millions. And these poor people have to struggle just to get by, you know, and have nothing when they leave. So anyway, that's a
Yeah,
topic. Unless, Nick,
yeah.
you want to talk about it.
Don't-
You want to debate
Well,
it with me,
well, we
that's
can.
fine.
It's not really a debate. I mean, I feel that money should all go back into the scholarship fund for all students. And I've always had the belief. I don't believe in anyone getting drafted out of, for example, football. Let's use football. Sophomores and juniors should not have a right to get drafted into the NFL. NFL should have a rule. You only get drafted if you're a senior. That's it. That's it. That should be a rule. Football only lasts so long. I mean, I was having a discussion with actually Dr. Tiano last night. We were talking about that. You know, sports is not the the end of the world.
Right,
It's
right.
sports, especially at the high school level, is just a vehicle to help a student possibly get a scholarship to the next level.
Yeah.
That's the real big thing when it comes to sports. How many kids pick Chelmsford High School? How many kids are going to become NFL stars? One, two, maybe.
that.
If
No,
that, yeah,
you know
the
what I mean?
percentage are very.
It's like, it's an incredible, low percentage that could happen. So, if you can help kids at least get an education, that's what you really want.
Well, I
That's
think the law is the scholarship, right? So they
Yes.
go to the school and they get
Yeah, get the
a free
scholarship.
education
Yep.
if they
And
want to apply
hopefully- yeah.
themselves,
Yep.
so.
But it's interesting. But how much are they paying these coaches? Some of them.
Oh, yeah,
One,
that's
two,
ridiculous.
$3
That's
million.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that's
How much are
ridiculous.
they paying all these other
That's
people who are like
ridiculous.
toadies?
agree.
And these kids are putting their heart and soul into
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, they could. I'm not saying give them $1 million or something, but give it so they could live okay, not have to worry. Maybe help their families a little bit.
But then
Because a
on the
lot of
other-
times
on
you
the
could have
other
the
side of that-
alternative of turning pro and getting
But
the
then
$1 million.
big col-
too
then
What
big
early.
about the
colleges.
talented engineering students, and what about the talented, all
The
the other
problem
students
is
that they have
the,
there?
the engineering field doesn't bring in the $1 million of the networks paying billions of
Right,
dollars.
still, but I think
So,
it's
but
just
if they
a slippery
did, I'd say
slope.
give the engineering students the money as well. But all I'm saying,
Sometimes
all
too
this
much money, it
Yeah.
becomes almost criminal.
But that's what I'm
because
saying.
then only the big schools will be able to give giant scholarships or pay students, and that isn't fair because then Division
Yeah.
II schools or lower Division I schools
Yeah.
or 1A schools will never be able to compete because the
well,
money
they
is
don't
at the big
compete for
schools.
these huge players as it is now.
But you still get some. But you still get some good players at lower levels.
yeah,
but
decent,
once you
but they're
start,
no
once you
level one
start
players.
paying, once you start paying, where does it end? You know,
Well, right now it's ending with.
now it becomes free agency in
yeah.
college.
Well,
It's
well,
crazy.
we'll see.
It is
But
crazy.
maybe, yeah, George.
You can have a good athletic program at the college level
Yeah.
without going bananas like
Right.
they have. Okay,
Yeah.
what they've done is they've turned the college education into a major.
Yeah.
Football has become a major.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Okay,
one of my points.
That's when you like it. If you go to I don't want to name any one large university, but Michigan, any of the Big Ten or the Southeast Conference,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay, to go there and play football, you've declared a major.
Yes.
Your major is football.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the 4 years, there is a profession out there for you. Okay, the NFL.
If
Okay,
they make it,
so I look at it that way. That some of these large universities, the Southeast Conference, Southwest, whatever, Big Ten, whatever, okay, have turned a sport into a major.
Yes.
Okay,
And a business.
and a business. Okay, but see now the other end of that, okay, is a school like where I went to, okay, where they play 8 games a year. There's no postseason. It's a great conference, the New England College
Yes.
Conference, okay?
Yeah.
I went to Trinity, okay? And they have an outstanding program. The athletes in the spring are overseas. They're studying overseas. These are fine athletes. In fact, they just won their 48th straight home game this past week. They beat Williams.
Fantastic.
Okay, it's a great program. It's a great program. Great football players. They come from all over the country. Okay, but they're majoring in art, or they're majoring in philosophy, or they're majoring in English, or whatever. Okay, but they also play football.
Yes.
Okay?
Division 3?
Division 3. It's a Division 3 school. Okay,
No, that's great, George.
but see, what I'm saying is there's a distinct difference between, college football at that level and college football at that level. Because at that level, what they're doing is that they're training professional football players.
I agree, George. I agree, and that's one of my points. But yeah, thank you. I think maybe we better move on to some of our other topics.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you.
You brought this up.
Yeah, I brought it up.
you did.
No, which is great, and it ties into our first topic, synthetic fields, which Nick was a big proponent of them, as was I, and we now have the synthetic fields at the high school and McCarthy Middle School. Is that finished yet? The one at McCarthy?
No, McCarthy's not done. As a matter of fact, I just came from there. They are starting to spray the track tomorrow. They'll be working round the clock. They're trying to get as much of the track in before next Monday. We're expecting like 5 days of rain straight, and you can't spray.
Next week?
Next week, yeah.
Oh, geez.
Well, I'm hoping the weatherman is wrong, but
Yeah.
that's the plan. So we want to try to get that done and in place before it really starts getting cold.
And that's the
because,
track you were saying,
And that's
right?
the track around the
How about-
outside. The field is done.
Field is
It's
done,
100%
yeah.
complete.
Looks good.
Bleachers are in. Most of the fencing's in. Town is finishing up some curbing so we can get our final fence in. So we'll have everything all enclosed. The rest of the facilities are in place. It looks fantastic. That facility, that location, will be the cream of the Merrimack Valley. We are going to see a lot of business coming out of that field, and we're already seeing. I mean, the high school is already renting out to Neshoba.
Really?
Is already renting
Great.
out to last night. Lowell Catholic rented the high school field.
Really?
They
Great.
played a football game. Saturday night, there was a semi-pro football team that came in and played at the stadium.
Fantastic.
So
How
you know,
much
it's
do you think in 1 year will we get from rental
I
of
think
these fields?
we took some estimates. We took some estimates, so I think you're going to be somewhere between $100,000 to $150,000 a year, and be able to pay our note off at the same time, be able to recoup some
We'll
of
be
those
able to
funds.
pay the note with that?
Yep,
Great,
yep,
fantastic.
yep, and be
What
able
did
to
we take, a
recoup some of the
20-year bond? in
It
this?
was.
Oh, that's
no,
fine
I don't
if
think
you
it was
don't, that's
20.
fine.
No, I don't
Okay.
think it was 20.
Whatever,
I
yeah.
thought
Or
it
maybe
was
10
either-
years, maybe
I
something.
think it might have been 10. I
Okay,
think it was
yeah.
10 because it
'Cause
was
the amount-
$800,000 note.
How much was it?
800,000.
Yeah, so it wouldn't
So it
be
was 10
20. I
years.
think with that amount, maybe 10 or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Nick. So you're the kids, the players are a little safer on the field, you
but,
think?
You know, well, I'm not going to say it because I'm going to jinx myself. But the kids, you know, I watch them play. I'm out on the field. I do the chains during the game, so I have the privilege of watching the kids up close and personal. And you ask a lot of the kids, the coaches, and the referees. They love the condition of that field. It's not, if you go to Lowell, for example, if you go to the Lowell, the Coliseum that they have in Lowell there, the Cauley Stadium, they have a very low-cut grass turf. It's an old turf. The turf that we have is sprint turf, and it's actually a synthetic grass. It actually looks like grass, and it plays like grass.
Great.
And it's nice and soft. You could run
Nice
on
and
it.
soft. The kids, when they fall on it,
Yep.
they're okay.
My kids,
That's fine.
my kids tackled me on it, and when I fell down, I hit the ground. I said, I may be able to put a couple more years. You know, I think I have some eligibility left. That ain't won't happen. It would just take one hit to be over.
Speaking of the kids, how's your son doing in college?
He's doing great. He came home this weekend. He absolutely loves Norwich. It's just
Norwich in what state is it in?
Vermont.
Vermont?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Norwich University. It's a military school, but he's actually in there as a civilian. It's mostly military. But he absolutely adores the school, loves the campus. It's a great program.
Is he playing?
He is not playing football. He tried to try out for the team, didn't make it, but he's going to try out next year, and he feels more confident that he'll make it next year. But you know, it's what you put in.
Yes.
What you put in, you get out. But that's not where life ends. His studies are his primary thing, and so that's important. But
Oh, that's the most
he absolutely
important
loves the
thing.
school. And
That's wonderful
know.
that he loves it. That's
Yeah.
That's where
fantastic.
Jack Fletcher went.
Jack Fletcher went there as well, and
Wonderful.
Donovan Driscoll is a student there. She's a sophomore, and there's actually 2 students, not including my other son, that are looking to go there next year.
Yeah,
So
wonderful. Well, are there any other comments on the synthetic fields?
Well, I just want to say, Janet Askenberg said, our fields stink. And I go, no, they can't stink. They look great. So I went to look at them one night,
Yeah.
coming home from town meeting, I think, and
Yeah.
I went over there and I go, but they were disasters. There was no grass left. The amount they use them,
Yeah.
the amount they use the
Oh,
fields,
before,
they
prior
like
to the synthetic
had to
fields,
put
yeah.
in turf.
Yeah.
There was just no choice.
Yeah.
And you'll notice almost instantaneous. You're going to notice up on Graniteville, and you'll notice up on the plateau. Those within a year, those fields will get healthy because Scott Moreau is doing a great job packing in the schedules into the stadium at this point. And once McCarthy opens up, he'll be able to put all the teams on the synthetic field and be able to give the opportunity, the fields an opportunity to rest.
Yep.
Because you have to rest them, and you have to split seed them, and I mean,
Yeah.
you know the
But
outposts.
not with the synthetic fields.
Not
though, right?
synthetic
Yeah,
fields.
yeah.
No, they just play
Yeah,
on
right,
it and
we're
stuff.
great.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Nick and George. How does it feel to have, the synthetic turf, nice on your
Obviously-
stadium named
obviously,
after you?
Obviously, it's
Yeah.
first class.
First class, yeah.
Okay, and getting back to the fact that we're able to have other people use the stadium and over at the McCarthy, the Olsen Fields. Okay, it's going to bring in some revenue that's going to obviously offset
Yes.
the money that's been borrowed.
Yeah, it
and
sounds-
down the road, help. Okay, because the two facilities are geographically perfectly located.
Exactly.
See, I have to use this. Okay, you've got Acton Park has a beautiful field, but it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Tingsboro has got a beautiful turf field out in the middle of
Middle of
nowhere.
nowhere.
Okay, they're
Excellent point.
Westford Academy has a turf field. Okay, we have two now that are right on Drum Hill. Okay, that makes it accessible to schools to use.
Right off the
Yes.
highway.
Yeah.
Tournament time, MIAA tournament time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and that the revenue is what I
It's
look
gonna
at.
be fantastic,
okay?
yeah.
And that hopefully down the road, because these are not permanent forever. They're gonna need maintenance down the road.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
down the road, and then you're not gonna have to go beg and borrow for it.
Right.
The money hopefully will be there
Yep.
to maintain the fields and keep it up.
Yes,
Because
well-
and the other beauty of the thing is they're safe.
Yes.
Okay, the research has shown that injuries are diminished by
Yes.
using this kind of turf,
Yep.
this kind of field.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
easier
And they
on the
look
kids.
nice.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
do,
yeah,
they
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
look
it's
at-
nice.
you know,
I drove
tuck-
by McCarthy today.
Yep.
Beautiful. Now, what type of fences? Is it going to be chain link around the
It's
McCarthy?
going to be
Okay.
chain link, but it's going to be new.
Yeah.
It's going to be. We're actually, from a design standpoint, not going to have any grass underneath the fence, so you're not going to see that ugly stuff growing
Right,
up.
right.
We're going to have actually asphalt going 2 feet beyond the fence,
great.
and then they're going to drill the poles. So there's less maintenance, so less cost in
Yeah.
dealing with that. The guy
And look
doesn't
good.
have to get off the tractor.
And look good
Good,
too.
good.
And
Yeah,
it will look
yeah.
much better.
Looks better. That's good.
Much
That's
better.
good.
So.
Well, wonderful. Well, Laurie, I wondered if we could talk about this. There's been an improvement in the sex offender registry, I believe, and I'm not sure if it's been implemented yet. I was talking to Jim Arcero, who was also a state representative, instrumental in getting this passed at the State House, as were you, as I understand, with your Community Voices group. And you've been advocating this for what, level 2, to also be added to the visible
Right, on-
sex
on the
offender
internet,
registry
right.
online, so families or whatever can check out who's in the registry, even at a level 2, so that if there's somebody in their neighborhood that might be on that, they will be more careful
Right.
with their children.
Just so they can make informed
Just to
decisions.
make informed
and that's
decision,
it.
yeah.
So, in Massachusetts, people convicted, if they're convicted of a sex crime against a child, they could be a level 1, 2, or 3 sex offender. So in 2004, we advocated for level 3s to be placed on the internet, their information to be made available.
And it's there
And then
in-
after, it is there, yes.
is there,
It was
yeah.
challenged in the courts, and they ended up siding with the public back in 2004. So, in doing research, we realized, there are just as, there's a good amount of level 2s who have also committed crimes against children. And it's difficult to get that information because a person has to go to the police department, fill out a form, show ID, and then they're given copies of the level 2 sex offenders. So we said, you know what? Why not make that information available? So if you were going to Westford, you would have to go to Westford PD, fill out a form.
Yes.
So it's just, people use the internet
All-
every day.
Yes,
So why
yeah.
not make this information available to parents? So.
Yes, yeah.
Rep. Arciero pushed for it to be placed in the budget, and the language was in there. The governor signed it into law, and immediately after it was signed into law, it was challenged by actually state-funded attorneys for sex offenders.
State-funded
right.
attorneys, geez.
That's a whole
So
different show.
that's why it hasn't.
So there was.
That's why
So
it
what
hasn't been
happened was
implemented.
we have what you know when we were advocating for the law, we kept hearing there were constitutional issues with it,
Yeah.
and you know. The courts have never addressed level 2 sex offenders. So why people thought, and it was mostly lawmakers, defense attorney lawmakers who said brought up the constitutional issues. So the law was immediately challenged. It went before Justice Gantz, single justice before the SJC, and he barred any offender who was classified after July 12th cannot be placed on the is on the internet. Any person classified before level 2 before, there'll be a full bench hearing before the SJC on those. And I think the reasoning was the people who were classified as 2s didn't realize their information would be placed on the internet, and so right. I mean, it makes it. I feel confident that the public will prevail on this one. But he did issue an injunction, so only some of the information is available. So to get accurate information, people should still go to the police department to get their level 2s, and hopefully we're thinking around December for the SJC hearing. And hopefully, within 90 days of that, we'll get an answer.
Wonderful.
But same thing happened with the level 3s, and we prevailed. So.
And if somebody wants to look up this information on the internet, do they type in Massachusetts Sex Offender Registry?
They could
or
Google
for their
that,
town
or it's
also?
mass.gov/SORB, and then it'll pop right up.
Okay. But maybe they can get, if they don't remember that, maybe by putting Sex Offender Registry.
Right,
maybe
Massachusetts
they'll
Sex
find
Offender
it, right,
Registry.
if they don't remember
Right,
that.
and there's also a national sex offender registry. So where we live so close to New Hampshire, I always send people there because you'll get the New Hampshire offenders, and we know some of the New Hampshire offenders come here. And technically they're supposed to register with SOAR, but it kind of gives you a complete with Massachusetts being so small and we have so many
that's
borderlands.
wonderful. It's great all the work you did
So-
on that, Laurie, and it's coming to fruition. All
Right,
of it. Hopefully,
it was a long time.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
but there have been many tragic cases that
Yes,
have kind
It's a
of
great cause.
brought that
cause.
brought
Yeah, it's a
attention.
great
I
cause.
just as a
Well-
parent, I want to know who my kids are with,
Yes.
and that's it. So.
Well, speaking of kids, one of the things we want to talk about is there's been a lot of bullying lately with kids, and a lot online. There's a lot more high technology in the schools now than when we were in grammar school and high school. And a lot of these young people, unfortunately, some of them are committing suicide because they're being pilloried and bullied so much they just can't take it anymore. There was just a 12-year-old girl in California recently killed herself. It's so tragic. So there's a lot of bullying going on. Not only that, but there's also the kind that we had too with the yelling and the hitting and all kinds of things like that, which is driving a lot of kids and their parents a little bit crazy
Well,
with it. How do
October
you
is
deal with it?
Bullying Awareness Month
Is
as
it
well.
really?
Yeah.
So it's very auspicious that
Right.
we are talking about tonight. Any thoughts about this? In addition to maybe, we had something in Chelmsford that we don't know the details of yet, but apparently there was some bullying going on at some football players in New Hampshire. And the last I heard is the New Hampshire police are investigating this, and nothing has been published yet. Nick, being on the school committee, might know some more about this.
Or not.
Tough question.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Dr. Tiano speaks for the school district when it comes to situations like this. Obviously we're not at liberty to say anything until a police report is generated. But I'll be honest. Just because I'm on the school committee doesn't give me any privilege to see anyone's personal files. And to be honest, I don't want to see personal files. If there's a problem that occurred with a staff member and the school administration decides that they need to do something and then just present to us what they decided they're going to do, that's their decision. The only thing that the school committee is obliged to do is make sure that there's policies in place that are clear and cut. I mean, there's no ambiguity whatsoever. But in this case, I really can't say anything. We're still waiting for the police report to come out of Moulton Borough.
Why is it taking so long, Nick? That was
To be honest with you, Moulton Borough is a very small police force. I think they only have one detective in the entire police office. I think it's only one. And he's been down here, I think 8 or 9 times to speak with different, well, every time he comes down, not everyone's available.
Yes, yeah.
So, and he speaks to coaches, he speaks to players, he speaks to potential, victims and whoever. So, it takes a while to get through it. So, other than that, we really, I'll be brutally honest with you, there's so far that the school district can act until you get the report.
Right.
Because you've got two sides of what's going on here, and what really disturbed me is the newspapers coming out and making these accusations, and like, people have come to me and I've said, where'd you get that from? It was in the newspaper. Okay, where did they get it from? Did they get it from the school district? No. Did they get it from the police? No. Okay, so I don't know the story, and I'm not about to believe the newspaper.
Yeah.
So I'll wait until the everything comes out, and then we'll figure out what's going on. So.
I think as a parent, I just didn't appreciate hearing about it on the news, and I've expressed that to and I know Dr. Tiano acknowledged that, and I think it was it hit the school department, and how it was leaked to the press. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people feel that way, that something happened. We know something happened.
So all the parents.
We can only hear the rumors at this point. We don't,
Yes,
I don't know there's anybody other than the people involved who know what happened.
Yeah.
And then the other concern was, the policies we have in place. I think we just need to take a look at that with
I
regard
agree.
to, overnight trips and things like
Yeah,
that.
I'm
So
not
moving forward, I think,
Yeah.
and I know the school department and the school committee
we have
is more-
policies in place
Yeah.
with overnight trips. Any overnight trip out of state or overnight has to come in front of the school committee, and we have to approve it. And we review it. We review it based upon number of chaperones, what's going on, how long it's going to be. You know what I mean? So those are the things that we review. It's been going on. This trip's been going on for quite a while. They've never, they have no one. We haven't had reported incidences in the past. My belief in situations like this is you deal harshly with them if they come in front of you. Laurie and I have had these discussions, but again, without having any concrete information in front of me, I feel like I can't make a decision one way or another.
And that's the thing, is
So-
we just don't know
Right.
what
Yeah,
happened.
we just don't know,
But
yeah.
I think, given, what's been going around, it definitely, policies, this warrants a second look at.
Yes.
I mean, and we go through
If
policy-
nothing changes,
We go through
fine,
policies
but-
every single
Yep.
meeting, as a matter of fact, and these policies are on the docket as we're going through and we're reviewing everything, and we will tie any loose ends if there's anything loose on it. But until we know what happened,
Yeah.
we can't set,
Right.
we
Good.
can't set
Yep.
a standard. So.
Well, George, as a former principal, what are your thoughts about bullying and any of these things that go on with young people
no
these
tolerance.
days? No
No
tolerance.
tolerance. No tolerance.
Zero
okay?
tolerance.
All my years, okay, we had a couple of incidents.
Yeah.
Okay, in school.
Yeah.
Okay, dealt very harshly. Okay,
Yeah.
very definitely, very quickly. Okay, my theory always was, and I always tell those parents, I don't want to set values. I want you to know what my values are.
Yes.
I want you to know what the principal's values are.
Yeah.
And I used to express those totally.
Yeah.
Student body, teachers, parents, and everybody. Okay? And then we go from there. We go
Yes.
from there. Okay? Bullying is non-tolerant. Okay? We had some incidents.
Yes.
People lost their jobs over them.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll be very frank. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
But a lot of it depends on students. Okay, and this is the thing I used to work with. Okay,
Yeah.
I used to work with captains of every sport. I had a captain, we refer to as the captain's council.
Oh,
and I would
oh.
meet with them,
Yeah.
not frequently, but
Yeah.
on it every season.
Yeah.
Okay, and give them my theories on leadership. And I used to use Adolf Hitler as a leader. Okay, not a very good one, but he was a leader. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then you use, Winston Churchill as a leader.
Yeah.
Okay, so I used to do that. I took that on as a personal thing. Okay, so we zero tolerance for bullying. Okay, but then again, a lot of this has to fall back on the student body. Okay, and I used to tell the kids, don't keep it a secret. If you see something going on that's wrong, you better talk about it.
Right.
Yes.
Go to a counselor. Go to somebody, some adult in the school that you feel comfortable with, and tell them what's happening.
Yes.
And I think your quick, harsh action against the perpetrator sends a message to the rest of the student
Yes.
body that,
Yeah.
you know
Right.
what,
Yeah. No.
somebody will listen to you,
Yeah.
you will be safe, and it'll be dealt with.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Now, I'm quite sure that maybe sometimes it happened that we never got wind of.
Right.
But,
Yes.
but I'll
Right,
tell you,
and that's
if I get
sometimes-
wind of it, okay,
There are incidents, and I'll be
Yeah.
frank with everyone. There are incidents that occur
Yeah.
that we do not make public,
Yeah.
and we
Well, I
do
didn't either.
not deal, with this type of behavior. It's just we just don't deal with it, and I don't have to. You don't have to set up a policy for that. You know what I mean? You bully somebody, you're caught. We have a clear message
Yeah.
that will not be tolerated in our schools.
Exactly.
Period.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Charlie, any
I
thoughts
mean,
on
it just
that?
seems like bullying's got to be a big term now, and I'm thinking about my years in school, probably with you, some of them, and there wasn't much bullying at all.
No.
You would never even hear about it.
Yeah.
And now every day there's this and there's that.
I know.
And it's
I
just
went to
like,
school.
are kids different now, or
Well,
Yes, they
I
are.
think, well, you know what, I think back then too, it was, oh, kids are being kids and boys are being boys and
Uh-huh.
girls are being girls, and I think the result of that is we're seeing kids committing suicide, and, I don't know if, what they're doing is, maybe it's more harsh than when we were kids. I don't know.
I don't think it was, and I'll be honest with you. It was there when I was in
Yeah.
school, and I saw it, and I saw things that went on in the sports and outside of sports. But because of the communication that goes on, because of technology and the information superhighway, okay, one incident explodes. Okay, and then you get copycats that think that, oh, I could do that too, or you know what I mean. It's just then that's what ends up happening. It just
Well,
it's
and then
out of
with,
control.
kids
And
are
the media doesn't
tweeting,
help.
kids are on Facebook,
That's it,
and
see,
I have read
that's
some of the things, some of the posts on there.
I've seen some posts.
And
It's like
I mean,
you know.
it's
it's
Really.
crazy.
See, I didn't have to deal with that. That
awful,
was,
you know.
I mean, it was just coming
And
along.
schools are having to deal with that. You have
Yes.
kids who are having a Facebook fight, and they're getting off the buses in
Yeah.
a fist fight in front of
Oh,
the
yeah.
school.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's
But the
know,
rules,
it's
Yeah.
don't abstain them from being in trouble in the schools.
Right.
If you do something outside of the schools and bring it in,
Yeah.
all bets are off. We're still coming after you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's gonna be
and you see it with teachers too. They have this Rate My Teacher websites,
Yeah.
and some of the things on there are,
they're brutal.
horrible
Really?
Brutal.
things they write. It's
Brutal.
how I mean,
Yeah.
I just
I know. It's different. now
I've
these
read that
Yeah.
website. It is absolutely brutal.
So
I
it's
actually
not,
talked to someone
it's
about
not only
possibly
the
shutting
kids
it
that
down,
are
and you
saying it
can't-
about each other.
can't.
They
You
go
can't shut
after
it
the
down.
teachers, and they're, the posts are
Yes.
just uncalled for.
Well,
It's terrible.
Charlie.
I'm sorry.
sorry.
I guess I'm fortunate that, that's beyond me. My era didn't
The
have to
chisel
deal with
wasn't
that.
fast enough,
Yeah.
George.
I'm sorry. Exactly.
The
Right.
good thing
Exactly.
about Facebook,
Exactly.
I think, is
Yeah.
that the person's name is attached to their comment.
Yeah.
The thing with anonymous posting online,
Oh, yeah,
like on the,
that's-
forget it. People can post anything they want, and
Yeah,
it's,
that's too bad.
it's just terrible.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's too bad.
Well, Charlie, you're a new member to the ZBA, Zoning Board
only
of
a few
Appeals.
months, correct.
So, how do you like it so far, and what do you
Uh,
think about the whole process
the-
of going?
I really never knew we had a process quite like this, because I thought when the law said, 25-foot setback, that's it. You don't build your house 25 feet away from your neighbor's lot.
Yeah.
But with the Zoning Board of Appeals, if you have a good reason to put your garage or your storage shed, within 25 feet, and we'll always give you I shouldn't say always. There's a good
listen.
chance that
They'll
you
listen.
will get
Yeah.
your variance
Yeah.
because it's your land, you've paid for it, you
Yeah.
deserve it, and
And if your
it's
neighbor
the
doesn't
way
have a
life
problem with
is.
it, right?
Sometimes the neighbors can have problems with it, and like we just took a site walk 2 weeks ago. The neighbors had a problem with it. We went out there. We didn't see a problem with it. We gave him the variance because of the lot shape. He couldn't put his garage anyplace else, and it wasn't disturbing anybody. So sometimes we do go against the neighbors.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know if
got-
that's the right thing
I
to
got my
say.
variance, but I had to send my letter out.
Yeah.
All my neighbors actually responded. They said they had no problem with
To,
it.
what was it, to build
To,
a
to
little bit
actually we
further?
put an addition on our house, and
nice.
actually our garage intruded on that. Our
Yeah.
garage was like 15
course.
feet from the property line.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh,
And the
and that
zone
worked
normally
okay,
would
right?
be a little,
That's fine.
a little further than that, right? Normally it would have been
25 feet.
25. Yeah. So, well, great. That's wonderful. I'm glad you like it, Charlie, being on the ZBA and
I
everything.
really enjoy it. I'm coming up with all new ideas for my land now. Rather than putting like 2 houses on a lot, I'm gonna do like 24.
5-story building.
You're right on the ground floor, right?
Yeah.
You know the
Your own
rules.
personal 40B?
Oh, how
Yeah.
lucky your
Yeah.
neighbors
Yeah,
are.
That's another thing, 40Bs.
the rules.
I have to read all the rules for 40Bs. It's
Yeah.
so intense.
It is.
And Paul
and there's
Haverty
a lot of them coming
knows
up.
them very well, the rules
He's-
that is.
he's a
And he's on the
guru.
zoning board of
Yeah, he's-
appeals.
He's the
In fact, he's
greatest.
going to be on this show later on this month.
Well, let him
I think.
talk a lot to him.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, he
Yeah.
does a great job in terms of
Yeah.
knowledge of 40Bs. He's a big sports fan too, big Red Sox fan and Patriots, et cetera. But speaking of 40Bs, we can't talk too much about it because it hasn't been formally proposed yet, but the Mill Road 40B, there's going to be about 120 units, we think, in maybe 3 or 4 4-story buildings right off of Route 129 where there's Mill Road. And a lot of the neighbors and people in that area and other people are just very much against this 40B, which thus far the builder says he's only going to have about 20% to be affordable. The other 80% will be market rate. And Princeton Properties, if you check out their market rates for the other apartment complexes, they're quite expensive. For about a 650 square foot apartment, they charge about $1,500 a month. And for a 2-bedroom, it's up to $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. So a lot of people think there won't even be demand there for that kind of housing at that kind of pricing. You know, we could use more really low-cost affordable housing for seniors and other people on a very low income. But do we really need this big apartment complex with, say, 100 units of additional market rate on a road which is, as you know, Mill Road, it's very windy, somewhat narrow. A lot of people think there will be significant traffic problems and maybe safety concerns if they build there. So any thoughts yet? The developer got approval, by the way, at the state level, and that's why we might be next when that developer is ready, and I think it's Princeton Properties, when they're ready to actually propose this. So you may or may not have any comments on this. I don't know. Any comments?
I'll just make a general comment. I think back in 1969, I believe, some congressmen got together and said we need 10% affordable in every single city and town in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And that right there, I think, was a huge mistake.
That sounds
Just
like
huge.
another unfunded mandate.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And like
They
Tom
make
and I
rules.
discussed this a few times. What right do we have if we have a job every day and we get minimum wage? What right do we have to live in Concord in $1 million home? We don't have. I mean, we don't make the money.
Yeah.
We didn't go to school. We have nothing to sell. We can't afford Concord. So where do we go? We go to Carlisle or Chelmsford, or maybe we have to end up in Lowell. Maybe we have to go to Lowell to live. But
Yeah.
but why should we force the towns to have 10% affordable? And it doesn't make any sense. It's not logical.
Yeah. And it's not even just, right? Because for those people who do get to, say, live in Concord at one of these
Debatable, just, I don't know.
affordable towns just because they won the lottery, is that fair to all the other hardworking people that might have struggled to save up enough money to move into a nice apartment or home in Concord, but yet they can't afford it, but yet just through the luck of a lottery, these other family or person with lower income is moving in there? The whole thing seems unjust to me. That is, you should be able to work hard, work 2 jobs if you want, to struggle to get the best lifestyle you can for your family, the best house, the best apartment for your family or yourself. And once you could do that, fine.
Right.
But if you can't afford that, it's not just for you to leapfrog over other people who've been maybe working harder than you, but just didn't win that lottery for that particular 40B complex. Plus, the neighbors suffer a great deal with 40Bs, as you know,
Well, do they
and a lot of them
suffer?
right next door because it isn't zoned for. Usually, we have 1 acre zoning in Chelmsford, 1 house per acre,
Right.
and then a 40B could have, like, if they find 4
Up to
houses
8.
together, like there's 4 acres maybe on this Mill Road complex, put in 100, 120 housing units, where when you bought your house, you expected, according to zoning,
Yeah.
there would only be 4 homes on that property. And therefore, your property value is going to go down significantly. Maybe that was your retirement type savings, your lifestyle, the noise, the traffic pollution, everything. would be
No.
quite different. Not to get off on a rant on this, but
Yeah.
I did.
But,
I'm sorry, George. Do you have any thoughts on 40Bs? No.
No, not really.
Okay. Yeah. Laurie, you were
Yeah,
involved
there
in
was
one
right
near
at
you
the,
that
there
might
was
have been.
a daycare center
Yeah,
that
there
they
was
thought
thinking-
about putting
yeah.
up a apartment building, and then it ended up the land, there was a covenant on it saying there couldn't be anything.
Thank
but a
God for that
daycare.
covenant was
Yeah.
found,
Oh,
right?
yes,
Because
definitely.
it wasn't even located at first.
Right. It's just I think it's it's kind of an invasion into your neighborhood,
I
you
think
know,
so,
and
yeah.
we're in the Westlands, so
Yeah.
our lot sizes are small anyway, you know, where the traffic over in that area is, you know,
It
we have a
is,
lot of
yeah.
traffic. So I'm sure just with Stop and Shop,
Yeah.
the traffic with the new lights and everything has been
Yes.
horrendous over there. So I can't
Oh.
imagine what, you know, once this 40B goes up, you know, if it's approved.
if
that
it's approved,
it definitely
yes.
will.
So we'll see
It'll
what
be an added
happens with
burden
it.
on the neighborhood. But you know, and on the other side of it, I understand that we need affordable housing. You know,
Yeah.
and I know David Hedison's working on
Yeah.
some things on 110.
And that, I voted for that as a town meeting representative, and what Laurie's referring to, on Route 110, which is a busy road as it is, and there was an area which had commercial buildings on it at the moment that were dilapidated, and so there's going to be about 115 units of entirely
Right,
affordable
and that's the
housing.
thing, when it's all affordable housing, okay, I think, you know, the
Then I could-
community can get
I
behind
could
it.
understand it.
But when you
yes.
have, you know, obviously this developer is in it for the profit.
For the money,
and-
because-
And that's it, and he's using the 40B law to skirt, you know,
Yes,
to skirt
the
the law.
normal
Right,
zoning laws,
yep.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
and I think that's unfortunate.
Because they have, say, 80 market rate units where normally you would have like 4 houses. He or she's gonna make a fortune on this.
Right.
In terms of the value of it, even though it's rental.
Right, so
And,
you know, he hides behind the skirt of the,
I know,
you know,
that's
the
what
poor
bothers me about too.
to
It's
make
a whole,
profit. So
and then
it's-
you might see the headlines in the newspaper, affordable housing proposed on Mill Road, and it's just like using the backs of poor and lower
Mm-hmm.
middle class people quite often to enrich themselves,
Yep.
the
I
developers.
mean, just in the Westlands, we're aware that there's a homeless issue. You know, we have the
Yeah.
hotel that
Yes.
has homeless families in there.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, we're very well aware that we need affordable housing, but it's easier to get behind something, you know, that the Chelmsford Housing Authority is doing,
Yeah, what
where
they
it's
did.
all affordable.
And it was
So-
wonderful. 150 units, that's going to help us a lot with,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of seniors, if they go on fixed income, sometimes they need a little
Right.
apartment. They're downsizing from, I could understand it.
Right.
Even low income people, I want affordable housing for them. But let's just do it right. And let's
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
also think of every citizen in Chelmsford, not just
Right.
a few. So if David Hedison and the Housing Authority could find other properties like this,
Oh, yeah, I would
and by the
absolutely
mill,
with
say, or
that.
where there's kind of, you know, you're not right next to somebody's single-family home, yeah, let's do it. I'd
Yep.
vote for it again. But
Yep.
so we move on to school committee. I was just wondering, Nick, what the top issue in the school committee right now might be, other than maybe the building we talked about there.
Actually, the top issue is full-day kindergarten.
Oh, right. How's
Great.
that going?
We've given approval to the administration to go off and continue the investigation. They've given us some preliminary numbers. Obviously, we want some details behind it, how much it's going to cost. It looks like at this point we're not going to need any capital
Yeah.
to do that. We're going to put 2 kindergarten. The plan would be it's a hybrid type program. We're going to put 2 kindergarten classes, full-day kindergarten classes in each elementary school, and then move 8 kindergarten classes into the Westland.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Wow.
So, because we have the space there to do it.
Yeah.
For
So
full day
For
kindergarten.
full-day kindergarten, right.
And where are we going to get the funding? Are you going to talk
Well,
about that?
we're getting that information, detailed information. I mean, we have to hire 8 teachers. I mean, we have
Yeah.
teachers already in place, but we have to hire 8 new teachers.
Why?
Because
can't-
we don't have them.
Oh, they can't just go full-time. There wasn't somebody's working just 4 hours a day.
No.
Oh,
We're
okay.
we'll be adding more classes.
Adding more
So we're
classes,
adding
yeah.
8 more classes.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the big thing that we're really pushing on right
Yeah,
now.
wonderful.
And so
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Nick.
we'll have some information probably in the next 30 to 60 days on which direction
Great.
we're going to go.
And
We'll
then-
we'd like to do it next year.
Well, the funding will have to come before town meeting reps, right?
Well,
it's a part of the
it'll be
budget.
part of the budget.
So it will
Right.
have to, yeah. I
Yeah,
would
it'll be
think.
part of the budget.
Yeah, great. Well, before we run out of time, because this is such a great body of communicators that our time is running very, very short. Just a few quick announcements. This coming Saturday, on October 5th, at the old mill, which is on Mill Road. You know, there's an old mill, and it's being redeveloped now by a lot of volunteers, George Ripsum and others. This open space stewards are doing a lot of work there. They put up a new flagpole there recently, and there's going to be a flag raising ceremony, I think for one of the first times. It's coming Saturday at 11 a.m. at this Mill Road complex. It's called the Old Mill.
Right.
It says, here's what Phil Stanway sent me, just a quick paragraph. Patriotism is in many hearts and minds, and here in Chelmsford on Saturday, October 5th, we can stand together for a moment to celebrate patriotism, bravery, and volunteerism. At 11 a.m., Boy Scouts from Troop 70 will be at the Old Mill site located on Mill Road to raise a very special flag on the flagpole the Scouts freshly painted for the occasion. And on Saturday, they'll talk about why this flag is so special, but it's been flown all around the world, I believe, and very difficult
Rescue missions.
rescue missions, yeah. And also this Saturday and Sunday, some of you may be familiar with the Chelmsford Garden Club. We have some historical homes in Chelmsford, the Barrett Homestead, the Old Mill House, the Garrison House complex, there's the Old Jock House. In 6 of these historic homes and homesteads, there's going to be the Chelmsford Garden Club setting up these beautiful floral arrangements. And they're charging $20 for these home tours of these 6 homes on either Saturday from 10 to 4 or Sunday from noon to 4. You could go to these 6 homes, and the money will be for a scholarship fund and other charities that the Chelmsford Garden Club has. I'll be a lot at the Barrett Homestead because I'm the program chairman there, so I'll be there quite a bit. But if you like the old homes, please check that out. If you want more information, you could call or email Judy Carvin or Madeline Needles, both very prominent Chelmsford people that you could get in touch with. And finally, just to let you know about the Halloween, are you going to be at Halloween?
Yes, we're speaking about our program there with Wenna.
Wonderful. That's coming up, what is it, October 19th? Yeah, October 19th,
Yep.
11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the, where we have the corn maze, the Parley Corn Maze, off of Old Pine Hill Road. And 11 to 3, I'll be volunteering there with the Lowell Humane Society.
Oh, great.
Where I adopted 2 of my current cats.
Yep.
The other one was from the MSPCA. And they were all doing great, by the way. So, so that's a great time. If you have pets, or even if you don't have pets, if you love animals, please stop by and see us on that day. Well, maybe if we can get back to a couple of warrant articles quickly coming up at our town meeting, which is one Warrant Article 9, which is a big one, adding about $500,000 to help us finish up the fire station. Now, we might need less than that, but they're asking for $500,000. Some prices for builders, et cetera, have gone up since we first came up with this proposal. So any ideas or thoughts about Article 9? I know Nick and Charlie are town meeting reps.
Well,
And Laurie, hopefully again, if you.
Maybe, we'll see.
Yeah, okay, we'll see.
well,
And George sometime.
I know we have to do this. It's got to be done.
Okay.
But I think there's a lesson learned here that
Yeah.
I think 2 lessons. One is, stop beating around the bush and get the job done in the first place. Otherwise, costs will just continue to rise.
Okay, yeah.
That's lesson 1. Lesson number 2 is that we need to do a better job at when we put our plans together, because we need to put all the cards on the table. You can't just keep coming back to the well and keep asking for money over and over, because now we're in a situation, what if we say no? Then what?
Well, what's his name? Talked about it on my last show. Jim Lane, one of the selectmen. Basically, they'd be cutting down. They'd be value engineering that money out of it. So
Yeah, but what? That's the question. What is? Are they going to cut bays out? Are they going to?
no, a bay won't be cut.
Yeah.
No, it'll be other things. He talked about maybe some part of the offices won't be fixed up the way they should have, and that kind of thing. But hopefully that may not happen, and hopefully it won't happen. Hopefully we'll allow it to be finished before the prices go up, and we'll give them what they need at the moment.
But the lesson has to be learned.
Yeah, I have a hard time with 500,000. I mean,
It's a lot of money.
that's a big hit.
Yeah.
And so
Out of 7.5?
let's hope there's lessons learned.
Yes, yeah.
So.
Charlie, any thoughts? on
Well,
this?
I'm definitely going to vote no, because I always vote no, because I like to see my taxes go down for a change, which
Yeah.
they
Never
probably
happened.
never will.
Never happened.
And I'll like to think a little bit outside the box and say, well, maybe we could have saved that $500,000 if we had the like the highway department do the engineering and do the excavation, I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just digging some dirt. And I don't understand why it all has to be subbed out.
In,
I
in
just
defense,
don't.
in defense of the highway department,
Yep.
If they spent all their time doing there, they're not gonna be doing highway work. You know what I mean? They're not the,
They-
they're not the town construction crew. So.
But still,
that's-
500,000.
No, I agree. I'm
500,000.
not, you know, and believe me, I'm not
Yeah,
a big
I know.
proponent
I
on
know
it,
you're
but because I'm.
So does that
you know
mean you're
something?
voting no?
So I haven't decided.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'll be brutally honest with you. The big issue I have with all of that is that don't say to me again, on time and on budget.
Exactly.
Okay.
On time and under budget.
Yeah, on the
Right,
budget. Okay.
yeah.
So.
Well, we just have a few minutes for another article we want to talk about, which is Warrant Article 18, which is a citizen petition about grinder pumps. It's quite lengthy, quite complicated. I don't have time to talk about it all now, but I think the gist of it is to try to maybe have the town take over responsibility for maintaining the grinder pumps. And there's over 500 homes that have grinder pumps here in Chelmsford. Any thoughts about it right now? I can't go into all the details because of time constraints.
Bad original engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Period. There should have been a single location, a pump house at those low levels to pump to that location, and then you pump it out. But this is the cheap way out. They followed it's just the cheap way out.
It
They
is
tried
the
to-
cheap way out, Nick,
Exactly.
but
But now
this-
it's going to cost more in the long run.
Yeah,
Watch.
But no. The cheap way out is, I don't know the specifics, of course, but I'm guessing tens, 20s of millions to make the cut instead of 20 feet, make it 30 feet. That's outrageous when you do that. The
But you
pumps
wanna know
were
something?
the
I
cheap
mean,
way
You're
but
gonna
the
be-
result is we
once
have
the town
people having
takes
to pay
over
for that.
and it's going to probably happen.
Yeah.
Once the town takes over and they're going to have they're going to deal with those grinder pumps forever.
Yeah.
The price will never. You're going to go through that 20 million and you're going to exceed it.
You
I think
think?
it's a bad engineering job. Bad engineering.
That's your thoughts.
They went the short way. They went the cheap way to do it, and they were wrong. What they should have did is done it the right way. Put in the proper pump house at the lowest possible level and pumped it out.
Does anybody on the show have a grinder pump, by the way? No? I don't know. Okay.
Well, I've put in about a dozen of
Yeah,
them.
you put them in, Charlie. And you put one in at the Paul Center, right? That
Yes,
seemed to be
and
working
every
great.
single one I've put in has been
Yeah.
flawless. And I did put one in the Paul Center this spring for the summer.
Now, what happens when they
deal.
stop, if the power doesn't work? If we lose
You
power?
have to have someone else pump it out.
Yeah, see, it's,
There's no other way to do it. But the Paul Center has 100 children plus 50 facility, and the kids were really afraid of the kids throwing things down. Everything worked perfectly. Of course, that's only 1 year.
Yeah.
So-
So why do you think, Charlie, because you're an expert on kind of a
Why
lot of
do
this,
I think?
why do you think they're failing so much?
I think they're failing because, I hate to say it, but there's something wrong with the electrical component or the way they were installed.
Oh.
Because
This
I
a
went to the
commercial?
school. I went to the school. No, it's not a commercial. I went to the school for the E1 pump, and that thing is not flawless, but it's damn close.
Yeah, the E1
I mean,
pump.
you-
And that's what they use in a lot of these,
Right.
right? And
It's like a
but-
tank. The motor's like
Yeah.
a tank.
Yeah.
You can destroy it, of course, with a mile of dental floss or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you're
But-
kind of careful, it'll last at least 20 years.
Yeah. But do you know what one of our nice camera persons have been telling me, who has a grinder pump, and she and her neighbor said she can't even sleep at night who has a grinder pump, well, with the concerns and the problems from this. My camera person has said she wanted to keep with her septic system, and she wasn't allowed to do that by the
Right.
town. Now, I think that gives the town some responsibility in this problem.
Agreed.
Because I think they should have been allowed to keep their septic system.
I had this discussion
And-
with someone, and I
even
said,
as a backup plan.
As a
literally,
backup
you
plan
know?
even, yeah, because
Right.
for them to be forced to do this and then to have all these problems and because the town forced them to do it. And yeah, so we got to wrap up. Yeah, thank you very much, Charlie. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Thanks, Charlie, for being here again. Thank you, Laurie
you.
Mars, and thank you, Rena, for being
Rena.
here again.
Hi,
Rena,
good girl.
thank you, Rena. Thank you very much, George Simonian, for
pleasure.
being. Hopefully, many times for you and Nick
Definitely
DeSilvio
my
and all of
pleasure.
you, including
always fun.
Wena. And thanks our wonderful camera crew, George and Azora and Larry, and our good director, Pete Padula. And thank you to all for watching the show. It's also available on YouTube. If you just typed in my name or Politically Incorrect, you might be able to find it. I hope to see you at some of these upcoming town events, and I didn't mention all of them that we'll be at in the upcoming couple of weeks. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tom Christiano. Ciao.